What is going on, guys? We are back, and today we're going to be working in our base, working actually with power generation, and we're going to be going back to doing techie stuff because I've noticed over the course of all of my YouTube videos that you guys really like the techie videos. You don't like the magical stuff as much, so we're going to be sticking with techie stuff. I'll finish the Aura Cascade later, but today we're going to be doing some Endergenic generator action, okay? We're going to be generating roughly 10k RF per tick with this setup. And no, I didn't come up with the setup that we're going to be doing today, so I'll put a link in the description to a video where, you know, they talk about how it all works and why it works and how to set it up and all that. But there are a lot easier ways to set this up, but because of the mod pack we are in, we're forced to use vanilla redstone because there's not many other ways of effectively transporting a redstone signal in the way that we need. Now, I might be missing something, but for the most part, I think I covered all the bases, and there really isn't a better way to transport redstone in the Horizons pack other than using the vanilla redstone. So that's not a problem because in the video that I watched to learn about this, they talk about using, I think it was red power, and they also talk about using vanilla redstone. So if we come down here, you can see that I made a very lit up small room. It's not really small, it's a lot bigger than most of our rooms, but this whole setup I think is 11 by 14, and I don't even know if this room is big enough for this setup. We might need to expand it, but we're a little restricted because over here, right behind this wall, is our EE3 setup with the auto crafters, and over here we're going to hit the little drop down that we have right here eventually. So I'm trying to stray away from both of those. So if we do need to expand, I will, but I think this room should be big enough. So I have everything in our inventory ready to go. We're going to use 4 of these Endergenic generators, and essentially what these do, and you can read it here, you need at least 2 generators, and they're slightly complicated, and timing is crucial. So the basic gist of what goes on is you inject an ender pearl into these Endergenic generators. It becomes something that's sort of a modified ender pearl, so you can't pull it out, and it bounces it around between at least 2 of them, and they shoot them to each other, and the timing needs to be right that they're being shot to each other, and they need to have their state altered so that they can accept them and then shoot them out to another one. And if you get all of that right, and people have found out the perfect timing for it, then you're going to generate a lot of power. And so there's simple setups that use 2 of them that generate like 250 RF per tick per generator, and then the one that I'm going to do today is going to generate 2500 RF per tick per generator. And they do lose ender pearls occasionally, so we're going to be able to resupply the ender pearls automatically, but they do lose them occasionally just to nerf the system a little bit, but it does keep it going for a decent amount of time before it loses the ender pearl, so that each ender pearl gets you a pretty good amount of energy. So I guess we should just jump into it then with what we're going to be doing. So first off, we need to set up the Endergenic generators, and they're pretty much going to be 3 apart. So I'm trying to think, if we want this to be the center of the room, then we could just put one here, and I may need to move things around a little bit, but for the most part I'll try and not move things around and instead just expand the room. So once we have all these set up, you're going to need a smart wrench, or I guess any wrench, because you're going to be you have to set which one sends to which, so we'll do that in a second. But first we need to take these ender monitors, and you get on top of these and you can just set them in any direction. It doesn't really matter which direction, they just need to be pointing out from the block, and it kind of makes it go in a circle. So then we're going to take the smart wrench and you're going to click on this, and it makes an annoying noise, but then it says select another Endergenic generator as destination, and we're going to go in the reverse order these ender monitors seem to flow. So this one, this one, this one, and then if you go back to the first one, you can see that it is set to go to this one. So now that we have that, we actually have to get some of our redstone down, and we're going to connect these, all of them, to the previous one. And what this is going to do is it's going to say once a pearl has arrived in here, it's going to alter the state of the previous one. So it's pearl, all these need to be set to pearl has arrived, and I'm going to do a horrid job of explaining this because I personally don't really know what it is, but this is just the general idea of what I got. So then we also need to loop it back around to the one in front of it too. So it needs to be triggering it twice. And that should be good. So basically, once the ender pearl is in this setup, this is the only area that's going to be working, this center area that we have. But the problem is, we need to get the ender pearl going into this setup. And although that might seem easy, it's actually difficult, because if we want to automate it, we need to use the pearl injector. And I actually have a picture on my phone because I did set this up before, just so that I can figure out which dimensions we need. So since this way is, I'm looking at my phone right now, we need it to be going this way because this way is longer than before, and one side does seem a little bit longer than the other one. So we want this to be, I believe we want it to be up here somewhere, and I'll be able to tell in a second. So we want to set this up right here. Yeah, I think that's what we want. No, I think we want the other way actually. So we set this up. We'll set this up over here, and I'll just expand the room if we have to. So essentially, this is what's injecting the pearl into this system. And you can't just put a pearl in here. Okay, it doesn't have a way to put the pearl. This one does, though. It has a storage for the pearls. And now what we need to do is get this automated so that it's going to be sending the pearl in on a set amount of ticks. And I guess I can fill in this block in the center of the room again. I actually don't have a block to put in there. I need to chisel another one. Okay, just chisel this. And I decided not to use the factory blocks down here just so it's easier to see what's going on the floor. I could have used the black ones, but I really don't think there's a point in it. And I did put this in the wrong direction again. Whoops. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it needs to go on this one. That's good. Okay, so now that we have it here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to put the timer over here. And essentially what this timer is going to do is it's going to be what fires off the injector and then gets all of this stuff started. So eventually it's going to connect to all of this, but first we need to get it connected to the pearl injector, because if we don't inject anything in there, then nothing is going to happen. So we're going to set it right here, and obviously because it's vanilla, we need to loop it back around and go all the way around so that it's facing into that. And right now it's set on a delay 1, so it's just pretty much giving it a constant signal. Eventually we will change it to 30, but we don't want this constantly trying to fire right now, so it is perfectly fine. So the next thing that we need to do is set up a bunch of different sequencers, and what these are going to do is add like a little bit of a, it's hard to explain, but it's a little bit of a delay. So for this one, we're going to select the third one. Allegedly it can work if you select the second one, and then we're going to put it to once 2. Now I can't really explain all of this, but this setup is a really effective setup, so if you guys don't feel like watching the tutorial video or anything because it's like 20 minutes, then you can do this exact setup. It will be correct. I just can't really explain the science behind it, but I don't know if that is super important to you guys, but if it is, you know, you can go check that out. So then we're going to come over here and put this down and connect these two, and then this one needs to be set to once 2 but be put on the first one. So then we're going to loop this all the way around, and I guess we can make it a little bit more compact. If you guys are really worried about it being super compact, you can run it like this. And then what we're going to do is bring it back around. And okay, so here is where we run into an issue. So I think this wall might need to be kicked one out that direction. And other than that, I think this build should be okay. So what I'll do for now is I'll just go under this wall right here so that we can get it set up. But later I will expand the wall a little bit. So all you need to do is make it so that these don't connect and it runs along the outside. So then it connects to this one, and what we actually need to do is, I guess it doesn't really matter where you add it in this, but you need to add another sequencer, and you're going to set this one to once 2 again and do the first one. So this is just adding a little bit of a delay in between all of these, so you get the first sequencer delaying this one, and then it delays it again for this one. And we're going to do that one last time over here, and I guess we can keep it compact a little bit. So you connect it, and then you should set this sequencer right here to once 2 and click the first one again. So I believe this setup should be fully correct. Now what I also want to do is first we'll test out this setup, and the one thing you need to keep in mind is when you launch an ender pearl or inject an ender pearl, it can fail. You can see if you click on here, lost 0 pearls, and this averages over 5 seconds. So you know, if you lose one, you'll have to wait a little bit and then it'll register. But what it'll do is it'll launch the pearls, and if a pearl goes, it will cycle between all of these in the order that it does, making particle effects above them and generating power. And eventually it will die, and then it will need to send another one in. And when that happens, it could fail automatically, or it could fail after a second, or it could go for God only knows how long. So each one is going to generate a different amount, but it is suggested that you have a really good buffer of ender pearls, which is why I have this alchemical chest. And what we can do is just connect it to the surface and refill it repeatedly when we need to. So what we're going to do is, I guess we can just put all these ender pearls in here for now, and we can set this. I really hope this works, because if you mess up one part of this, it's not going to work. So if we change the delay, you can see that all of these are now generating, and you can see that you do have particle effects over all these, and that one is failing over there. That's what it looks like when it fails. And there must be an error in here somewhere, because these should be generating more. It might be with one of these sequencers. I don't know if I connected all of these correctly. Let's just make sure. Okay, so all those should be connected correctly, and timer should be set to 30. Okay, so I believe all these should be connected correctly. So this is the setup, but it looks like it's failing more than normal, so I'm going to go back through, make sure that all this is set up correctly, and then we can jump back. Okay guys, so we are back, and the system is currently functioning really well, actually. You can see that it is averaging 2560 RF per tick, and yes, it does fluctuate a little bit, because when it does need to fire one more out, that does delay it a little bit, but you can see that it will also go up, so it averages roughly 2500. I've seen it go up to like 46,000, and I put a stack in here, and in less than a stack it was able to generate all this power, and it keeps going even when the buffer is full, so it probably took less than half of a stack to get it all the way up here. And I figured out what the issue was. I was missing a piece of redstone right here. I guess I probably accidentally broke it, and there's also another issue. I can't even remember what the other issue was. Oh yeah, this right here was not wrenched onto this for some reason. So other than that, everything was working perfectly. I expanded the wall over here. You can see there's still some remnants of blocks, but for the most part this room should be working perfectly, and now it's a matter of collecting all of the energy and getting it so that the ender pearls go in there automatically. So if you can't tell, no, I did not kill endermen for these, and no, we don't have an automatic killer. I use my EE3 setup, and I know I said that I didn't want to use this for cheaty methods, and that this is kind of cheaty, but I thought this was a really cool way to generate power, and so I thought I'd do this anyway. I apologize if it does bother you guys, and if it does, feel free to tell me. And I won't use this setup if it really does bother you, but I hope it doesn't, because this setup is really cool in my opinion. It looks awesome, and it's really effective, so until we get a fusion reactor or something going, this will most likely be our setup. But now, if you guys don't know, I have a large alchemical chest right here, and if we look at regular chests, they're pretty dull in the storage department, but if we look at this chest, it is very large, and this is, I believe, the largest storage device that you can get in here that acts like a chest. Yes, we could use a drawer, but, you know, why not use a chest? Because I wanted to use these. All the other people's bases have these somewhere in them, so let's use it. And I can't imagine we'd even go through all these ender pearls in the next, like, I don't even know, like 30 days. It would take forever to use all of these, even if the base is loaded. But what we can do is, first we should fill up this whole thing with these pearls, because, you know, they're just going to drop down anyway, and we're using a really slow logistical transporter, so they won't be very fast. So filling this up would be very slow, but eventually it's only going to use one at a time from this thing, so it doesn't need to be super fast. So then we put these up there, and we just need to use this configurator to send this to pull. So we'll be able to see when it fails eventually. It should, in theory, pull one out of here and bring it down. So now I gotta wait. Okay, you can see that it failed there, and it pulls another one down, and it will keep this thing full. So off camera, I'm gonna fill like this whole chest up with ender pearls, and like I said, if you think it's too cheaty, then I will change that, but hopefully you guys don't mind. And then the last thing we need to do is use this ultimate energy cube. This is not the best form of storage for this, because this fills up very fast, but what it will allow us to do is keep things running constantly. So it will be nice, because I don't even know if this will be enough to power those electrolytic separators constantly. I'm a little curious, because all of our solar panels weren't, but this does generate a significant amount of power. And to avoid any disturbing or offensive shapes, I have already looked at the way that I'm going to wire these, and do not worry, we're not going to make, you know, anything very offensive. We can just wire them across on both sides, and then wire it in one on these two sides, and I'm going to connect it here for now, but eventually I will connect it somewhere else to the rest of our power grid. It doesn't really matter where, as long as we have the power flowing through somewhere. So for now, we can just slap it down right there, and power can be pulled out the top, and I will connect it somewhere off camera. It doesn't really matter to me, but you can see that this thing is filling up so fast, and yes, it is lowering the buffers on here, but let's wait until these are completely emptied, and then we can take a look at how fast it fills up. So this is the rate at which it fills up constantly. That's how fast we're going to be generating power with this every time it's running. So no matter when, as long as there's an ender pearl flinging around in this setup, this is how it's going to be generating it. So I think that's a pretty good rate of generation. I don't know if it's faster than all of our solar panels, but it's pretty close, if not faster than all of them. So I really like this setup, and you can see that it's not really using that many ender pearls. Since we did that, it's used probably, I think it's like 4 or 5, and if we fill this whole thing up, it'll take forever to dump all that. So all I have to do is, you know, go upstairs, and this is really cheaty, but we'll access this chest and dump all the junk in here that we have that we're not going to be using. So there we go. Got a lot of open inventory space. You just run over here. Still haven't finished that ceiling. I need to do that. Let's just check to see if we have any. Oh, nice. We have 3 more quintuple compressed cobblestone. That'll get us a lot of ender pearls. So we put that in here, drop this back in, find the ender pearls, and then if we look at our energy value, it's a little bit over 7 million. Shift click drops it roughly, to do all of these, it drops it roughly 500,000. I think it was at 7.3, so now it's at like around 6.8. So eventually I'll put a chest up here so that I can monitor it without even going downstairs and just like access it over here somewhere. Who knows? But we come downstairs now, just go to this chest, and I don't know there's a better way to put all the ender pearls in here other than just shift clicking all of them in. I feel like there is a faster way to move all these into this chest, but whatever. So right there, these ender pearls will last us for a significant chunk of time, and you can see that this is going to be full soon. So I should probably get this hooked up to our setup, and eventually I should come up with a way to turn all this off. I think I can, as long as I just turn this off. So other than that, guys, I think that's it for today's video. I don't think it was a super long video, and it wasn't really an explanatory video, but I think this is really cool. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And like I said, there will be a link to the actual smart person tutorial in the description, where they give examples of why it works and how it works and how to set it up with this and how to set it up in a more compact version with like red power or whatever when you have actual cables and stuff, or, you know, Ender IO or something. So you guys should go check that out if you want to make this and don't really understand what I'm doing in here. But like I said, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like. It would really help me out in knowing that you guys are enjoying the series still after 3 weeks of almost daily uploads. And you might have noticed that today is the first time that we have not had a daily upload, or yesterday was the first time, and that is because the sooner or the closer I get to going off to college, the less I'm going to be able to upload until I eventually do get to college, in which case we'll probably have like 1 or 2 videos a week for the first week or so, just because I need to settle in, and I hope you guys don't mind. It's really big life change for me though, so it's going to take some getting used to, and I'm going to have to work around my college schedule when it comes to uploading videos. So no, I don't plan to stop, but yes, the videos will not be daily. But I hope you guys don't mind too much if we have almost daily videos. I'm going to try and make a point of doing them every other day, and if I can do one every day occasionally, then I will. But yeah, just remember to always post in the comments and give feedback, and tell me if you're enjoying the series so that I know that you guys are enjoying the daily or almost daily videos, and I hope you don't mind, like I said, the change of schedule. So I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.